Putting Reading First in Maine, Segment 15, Comprehension Research and Assessment.
So one of the reasons why you would read this then is to learn new information. Do you think that's true of nonfiction books, that you would read them to learn new information? Do you think you would read nonfiction to be entertained? Probably not be entertained.
Comprehension is one of the 5 essential elements of effective reading instruction and is the final goal of reading. It is a complex cognitive process involving the intentional interaction between reader and text to construct meaning. Scientific research and a variety of assessment tools provide teachers with a foundation for effectively teaching comprehension strategies.
Okay, I'm going to call that an outside source.
Good readers have a purpose for reading. They also actively think as they read so they can make sense of the text. Skilled readers access their experience and world knowledge as they read. They use their knowledge of vocabulary, language structure, text genre, and text structures. Proficient readers have a range of comprehension strategies to draw on and have the confidence and experience to decide when and how to use them. The ability to master comprehension strategies develops over time. Effective comprehension instruction is important for several reasons. According to a report prepared by the RAND Reading Study Group in 2003, high school graduates are expected to successfully achieve a high degree of literacy in today's society. U.S. students are performing increasingly poorly in discipline-specific content and subject matter when compared to other nations, and unacceptable gaps in reading performance persist between children in different demographic groups.
Let's read the title again.
The scientific research on comprehension gives teachers a clear picture of what comprehension strategies need to be taught and how they should be taught. Instruction should help students understand, remember, and be able to communicate what they read.
Hangs up a lamp.
The National Reading Panel recommends teaching students the following 6 comprehension strategies. Research has shown that these strategies are effective. Monitoring comprehension, using graphic organizers, asking questions, answering questions, recognizing various text structures, narrative and nonfiction, for example, and summarizing. 2 other strategies are also effective: making use of prior knowledge and using mental imagery.
Often he felt very alone.
In addition, research has shown that students can be taught to use comprehension strategies. Explicit instruction is particularly effective. The steps of explicit instruction are direct explanation, modeling and thinking aloud, guided practice, and gradual independent use of strategies. Cooperative learning and encouraging students to use strategies flexibly and in combination are also effective instructional approaches. Assessment is key to comprehension instruction. As has been discussed in previous segments, schools must have a coordinated assessment plan. Formal assessment tools for measuring comprehension include the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, or DIBELS, Retell Fluency Test, and Informal Reading Inventories, or IRIs.
The next story, you're going to read it out loud. If you get stuck, I'll help you with the words so you can keep reading. And when I say stop, you're going to tell me about what you read. So do your best reading.
The DIBELS Retell Fluency Test is administered after the DIBELS Oral Reading Fluency Test and is used in 1st through 3rd grades. The Retell Fluency Test provides a screening measure to identify children whose comprehension is not consistent with their oral reading fluency. The DIBELS Retell Fluency Task is completed after the DIBELS Oral Reading Fluency Task, so therefore students provide a retelling for each of the 3 text passages which are read.
Okay, Alexis, tell me everything you can about what you just read.
The boy and the brother and sister like different kinds of ice cream, and
the teacher counts the number of words which pertain to the story for each of the students' retellings. It is suggested that the student's comprehension of the passage is sufficient if the number of words included in the retelling is at least 1/2 the number of words the student read for that passage for the oral reading fluency task. If the student's comprehension skills appear to be weak, the teacher will want to use other measures of comprehension, like an IRI.
his mom was got a new job.
An IRI is an individually administered survey designed to determine a student's reading strengths and instructional needs.
I'm going to have you look at some lists of words today, and these are real words. So I'm going to have you go down through the list and read the words the best you can, and we'll start with one column at a time. Okay.
An IRI begins with a student reading lists of words to determine the student's ability to read grade-level word lists and also determine the level of text passage which the student will read.
Squirrel, lump, thump, grandmother.
Next, the teacher asks the student to share a prediction of the passage based on the title and then the first few sentences.
Why don't you read the story, the title of the story, and tell me what you think it's about.
The surprise party. I think it's about a party.
Okay? I'm going to write down some of the things that you predict about the story from the title.
A surprise.
Okay.
The student then reads the passage.
The surprise party. Hurry.
Sue.
Sue called to all her
The final step for an IRI asks the student to share a retelling of the passage.
What I'm going to have you do now is start at the title and read all the way through this passage. When you're done reading it, I'm going to ask you to retell the story back to me. Okay? All right, start right
Following the retelling, the teacher poses questions to expand and clarify the student's understanding of the story.
What are the children planning for their dad?
In addition to formal assessments, there are several ways to informally assess comprehension and inform classroom instruction. They include retelling, literature discussion, literature logs, graphic organizers, book response projects, closed procedures, comprehension questions, and student self-evaluations.
Ethan, I'm going to read you this story called Drip Drop. It's by Sarah Weeks, and the pictures are by Jane Manning. And when I'm done reading it, I'm going to ask you to tell me everything you can remember about it, okay?
Teachers can use informal retellings to regularly assess a student's comprehension of either fiction or nonfiction texts. There are many options of rubrics available which teachers can use to record and score the retelling, or teachers can simply record the retelling on a blank sheet of paper. The complexity of students' retelling informs teachers about appropriate next steps for instruction.
Come jump in the puddles, his friends all said.
Here is an example of a kindergarten student sharing a retelling of a fiction story which was read to him.
Right. Now I'd like you to tell me everything you can remember about that story.
There was a leak and it wouldn't stop.
The teacher uses a fiction retelling rubric to record and assess the elements of this student's retelling. Next, you'll see how a second grade student gives an elaborate retelling of a nonfiction book about spiders.
I know that you've read Spinning Spiders. Today I'd like you to tell me what you can remember about spinning spiders.
That webs are really actually called cobwebs.
Notice how the nonfiction retelling rubric the teacher uses differs from the fiction retelling rubric to reflect the different structure and format of nonfiction.
First, Cinderella would do all the chores.
The final retelling example is of a third grade student who reads a fiction story.
And the stepsister and stepmother would never
Do you think that's a thick question or a thin question?
a thick one.
Okay, and you already have
Scientific research clearly supports directly teaching reading comprehension strategies to children in the primary grades. Formal and informal assessments help teachers plan for and deliver instruction so that they can best support their students' progress.